You're listening to the Reinvest Podcast, where each Tuesday we show business owners and entrepreneurs how to reclaim, reconnect, and refocus their life by bringing you the top real estate professionals in the industry. We'll help you diversify into real estate by equipping you with the tools and tactics to build generational wealth. Your hosts, Garrett Gatton and Seth Simonillo. Hey guys, thanks for jumping on to another episode of the Reinvest Podcast. We are quickly approaching episode 100. Do you want to give any kind of teaser like for our guests about that episode and why it would be something they would want to listen to?
It's going to be a good episode, almost like every episode. Every episode's pretty good. This one is going to be even better. So
we're bringing out the big guns.
Bringing out the big guns.
Bringing out the big guns. So stay tuned for episode 100.
And
Very
you know what?
exciting.
I hope when I turn 100 years old, they also bring out the big guns, and it's like a special celebration or something.
Yeah, well, it's a little presumptuous, don't you think? No, I hope you make it to 100. So, yeah, thanks for jumping in. Stay tuned for episode 100. Should hit around September. Very excited for that. It's been a goal of ours to get this guest on, and we think you'll be blessed by it as well. Just a couple housekeeping notes here. Level 5 Capital is our investment company. We are always evaluating real estate deals, but bear in mind that we pass on a lot of deals that don't work because some of the best deals you get are the ones you never did. And so we really try to be patient and thoughtful in that. But if you want to be alerted for investment opportunities with Level 5 Capital, join the Huddle. That's our monthly newsletter. And that link is in our show notes if you are not on there yet. And it also has some macro level commercial real estate data and kind of our thoughts and opinions on what's going on in the market. But let us not delay any further. We have a great guest today, Calvin Lowe, who's got a really unique story outside of real estate investing and in real estate investing. Calvin, how are you doing, man?
Great. I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
So you're a California, like how long have you been in California? Are you a native? Are you a transplant?
No, I'm a native Southern California. I'm born and raised in Orange County. I reside in La Habra. I actually grew up in Fullerton most of my life, so that's where Fullerton is in North Orange County, just north of Disneyland, Anaheim, so to speak. So,
are you a surfer?
No, I'm not. I do like
Southern California, and you're not a surfer.
I do like I bike a lot. When I'm out in the ocean, I've been a triathlete, so I'm out in the ocean.
Oh, seriously, Ironman stuff, or?
Oh no, not that to that extent. I've done some for my hospital. There's a fundraiser, so it's the triathlon. So we raise funds for pediatric cancer research. So I'm out there doing I've done probably like 4 or 5 complete triathlons. Wow. Now, since I'm older, I'm part of a relay team, so I have nothing else to prove, basically. So.
The relay team is like, it's like I still want to do it, but I don't want to do the whole thing, so I'm fine. Team.
Well, a lot of my friends said, I don't like swimming, I like doing this or that. I said, well, let's do a team, just get out there.
Let me just tell you, swimming in the ocean terrifies me. It just terrifies me.
Yeah, I'm not a great swimmer, but you wear the wetsuit. It keeps you buoyant. You just keep going and grinding it out. So
just a quick little story here. Navy SEAL. We brought in a speaker for a youth event. He was a former Navy SEAL, and it's from Southern California because I think one of their bases is in Southern California, right? Or maybe it's Northern California. And he was like, "Yeah, I was out in the ocean at night one time diving for lobsters," and like, "Well, that's cool." And he's like, yeah, when I was down there trying to get one of the traps, no oxygen, mind you, just like free swim, just holding his breath. He's like, I got attacked by a sea lion, and it was so dark, I didn't know what it was. And it was like trying to bite me and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that you have confirmed my suspicions that I'm never going to swim in the open water. But that's really cool. And just to segue into it, your occupation is a really probably rewarding but a difficult job. Tell us what you do.
Yeah, I'm a pediatric emergency medicine physician. I work in the emergency department at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and I've been there. This is my 31st academic year there. So I've been there.
When you get to 100, we'll do a celebration for you.
The big guns.
I appreciate that. I hope I can make it with my schedule. I don't know. There's some days like I don't know if I'm going to make it to the next day or so. But
so you work at Los Angeles Children's Hospital,
right? Doing
pediatric emergency physician work. So what does that entail? I mean, because the medical, scope is broad. What's the day-to-day that you're doing for that?
We see whatever comes through the front doors of our emergency department. Basically, we do take care of children from newborns we see up to 21 years old, but honestly, we see anybody that comes in. So when an adult comes in not knowing that it's a children's hospital, we sort of freak out a little bit and say, okay, why are you here? Don't this is a children's hospital. They'll say something like, oh, the Uber driver didn't speak English. They just saw the first hospital.
People, hold on. People are using Uber to get to the emergency room.
Yeah, that or a taxi,
Yeah,
just
there you
whatever.
go.
Well, now we need to interview an Uber driver and be like, man, I bet you see some stuff,
Right. So, all types of emergency cases that come either from like a trauma, hit by a car, we call fair to fly, kids fall out of windows, to like the sicker oncology kids who have fevers and they're not their immune system, they're immunocompromised, or to a diabetic. So just a whole gamut of things. It's actually really cool because it's just like you don't know what's going to come through. You got to be on your toes. We're an academic center, so teaching the residents, they're about pediatric emergency medicine, to do things. So,
well, here's the crazy part about that field of medicine is it's not planned, right? So it's very reactive, and you can't teach a lot of that stuff because you have to just do it. You have to be presented with those situations to figure out how to navigate it.
Right. Well, that's true because he comes in is reactive. Because me being a seasoned physician now, I can see things coming out. I'm ready to rock and roll, so to speak. I have a great team of nurses, techs, respiratory therapists. They're all there. We have our roles. And the residents or the trainee physicians, they can see that, right? Just to see how can I fit this? How does this work? So afterwards, we can have debriefings or teaching moments. That why did I think this way? Why did we do this, right? So that they can incorporate, because many of them don't go into emergency medicine. They do their own private practice, learning. Because I remember this case I had with Dr. Lowe, and this. I have to refer this to the emergency department, right? So that's the goal, so they can recognize the correct disposition for these kids where to go.
So up to this point, everyone's probably wondering, why do you have a medical doctor on a real estate investing podcast? Well, boom, we're going to tell you. So you and your wife, you guys started Peace Equity. That's your investment company. Is that right?
Yeah, Peace Equity has special meaning for us because the first four letters of Peace are the first four letters of my family's first names. It's Peggy, Elizabeth, Austin, and Calvin Equity. So our motto is, or our philosophy is, family, peace of mind, and generational wealth. So what we do, we help not only others, but healthcare professionals find their journeys through passive income streams. So to help their futures and take care of themselves as they go along.
So I think probably the best way to handle this would be to just kind of preface the question we're going to try and answer today, and then use your story to talk about how that could apply. So, the question today is how can someone determine if passive investing is for them, right? By this point, if you've been on YouTube, if you've ever typed anything into Google, you're now getting ads or things related to that because, and I always say this, it's all about the algorithm. So you're in the algorithm and you're seeing passive investing, you're seeing real estate, you're seeing the buzzwords, but how does somebody know if it's right for them?
That's a great question, because just using my personal story, just being as a physician working many, many long hours, I'm also the medical director of our transport team, which means that we transport kids from all over the world to our hospital for specialized care. And some of those shifts are 24 hours. Wow. So I'm just working, when I was like the yes man, early in my career, I'll do this, I'll do this, I do this. So I'm working because I needed the funds. I needed to provide for the family, big house, right? Provide for the kids and so forth. But what I found out later on, there was really not much of a net gain from that because, I'm working, making more money, but I'm getting taxed more. But even on top of that, I'm missing all the family time. My sons, little league games, daughters, piano recitals, get-togethers, and so forth. So, looking back now, I can never buy back that time. So that's where I'm looking for passive income streams now through real estate, so that I can have that time. I'm still walking and talking and breathing. My kids are adult now. One's gotten married. Next one's getting married next year. Grandkids on the horizon. I want to have that time and the means to spend, have that quality time with the family, my loved ones. So And
I want to break that down just for a second, because that mindset or that dilemma that you found yourself in, I think is one that we all find ourselves in. That correlation between time and money, and you just make the assumption, right? There's a progression. When you're starting out, you have energy, you have time. So it makes sense to put the pedal down and start burning the candle from both ends. But life transition starts to happen, and your responsibilities are just outside of yourself, because now you insert a wife and some kids, and you think like, I gotta keep doing this. And my father-in-law always says, I wanted to run the business, not the business run me. And it's hard, to be honest with yourself, to figure out when that's happening. So like, what caused you to kind of lift your head up and be like, am I really making strides here like I want to?
Well, it was for a while there. I was like really treading water, basically, because I was just like working. Wife, at home saying, you're never around for the kids and so forth. And I thought I was doing a pretty good job. I was like, my son's baseball games, when I did was able to go. I was the alternate coach, right? Oh, the coach would be the first base coach. I was out there. I loved it, but I wasn't there for every game. Then as things got, older, the kids were going to college. I'm like, gosh, I really missed a lot of that. And there I was, just working like 3 positions at the hospital, thinking that, what, I have to provide, because I have this big house. But one of the things that really changed my life was when we actually downsized our house. We just put everything back down in perspective. So I was able to cut back on my hours. And that was just like, it was just a light bulb in my head. I said, wow, what did I just do? What did I miss all these years? Because it was a good 20 years. I was really working really hard. And just like, my job became my idol, so to speak. Right. So I was just working all that time, thinking I was doing the right thing. And I see a lot of my junior colleagues doing the same thing. I said, you don't have to do that. You can just cut back, because my original avatar for my real estate business was the female healthcare professional or attending, because they have the balance of life as being a mother, a wife, and a physician. And that's pretty difficult to do. So I'm just trying to say, well, I can help you look at passive income streams that you could cut back. You can have time to raise your family, be with your husband, and do those things.
So I think everyone assumes that because you're a doctor or a high income earner, that you're fine, that you're wealthy, that you're well off. But as I'm listening to you, it sounds like maybe the issue was that there was some lifestyle creep, where you were living up to a lifestyle of a high income earner. Therefore, you felt the need to keep perpetuating that, keep the engine rolling, or else you guys wouldn't be sustained financially for your house and for your lifestyle. Is that kind of what was going on?
Yeah. Yeah, that was, that too, because, I was always under the mindset, oh, I got to pay off this house. I have to work, to support the, yes, was I living beyond my means? Yes and no, but I had to keep that up, because, with kids and all their functions, college and things like that. So it just escalated up. So that was my responsibility. But looking back, I could have done the same thing, but just not had to do all that. Really had to scale back and enjoy what means a lot to me, and appreciate that.
So when I think about passive investing and somebody, looking at your story, looking at their context and asking the question, is passive investing right for me? We work with a lot of active investors and passive investors. And so we get to see both sides of the equation. Right. And really, one of the biggest things, and then there's some other variables we're going to talk about, is time, right? And I'm going to say time and purpose. Because for you enjoy being a doctor, you enjoy doing what you do, you put a lot into your career to get to that point. So the goal isn't necessarily for you to step away from doing that. So passive income is allowing you to continue to do what you want. So how does purpose and time fit into someone asking if passive investing is right for them?
Yeah, you just hit it on the nail, because I really enjoy what I do for so many years. I live in Orange County. It's a 30-mile drive to the hospital. If you guys have been in Southern California traffic, it's a good at least hour and a half each way, depending on time of day and so forth. So I love what I do. I just don't like the grind of going back and forth. So with passive income, I want to come to the point where I want to work when I want to, not when I have to. So the thing is, I work 14. I'm still full time right now. Actually, this is going to be my July 1st is a landmark, because it's the start of an academic year. So we go July to June. Okay. So this is going to be my last year. I'm going to be full time. I'm going to cut back
Mm.
2/3 time and so forth. So so I can have the time to do other things. So that's where I'm looking for. And I said, well, where's that income going to come? Well, I've invested in many real estate opportunities as both as an active and as a passive investor. So those things will go full cycle around next year's time or so, and that'll sustain me as I continue along.
So you were able to, and I think this is a phrase that's important, job optional, right?
Right.
The assumption isn't that you want to leave your job altogether and go to a beach. The job, but you want to be in control of how much you want to work. So you'll be able to dictate when you say yes and when you say no, because you've got that financial backstop from the passive investing. So if you're listening to this, I think one of the things is, do you do something that you want to continue to do? It's probably not going to make sense for you to pivot and become an active real estate investor because, newsflash, if you're active, you're spending your time doing that. Seth and I are active real estate investors. We do this for our profession, for our job. We think about it. We eat, we sleep real estate. That's not everybody's wheelhouse and what they want from life. So I think the next thing is skill, right? So that might be another variable in should I be a passive investor or an active investor? So I guess for you, how have you been able to navigate that? I would say there's an element of what you're doing with Peace Equity that makes you active. And talk about the skill aspect and how somebody should filter that.
Yeah, one of the things I actually did do a mastermind. I was actively as a passive investor first, just learning the ropes and so forth. And then my wife and I have the ideal situation. She's a homemaker, and we're taking advantage of the real estate professional status for her. So that's another thing. So we took the next step, joined a mastermind, became active investors. We founded Peace Equity to do the real estate syndication and so forth. Me, I'm more of an extrovert, so I like talking to people. So as a capital raiser, I just love networking, talking to folks, education really, because I've been in the academic medicine world for so many years, teaching trainee physicians to become the doctors that they want to be. But now I'm in a different realm now. So when I did my first webinar for one of our first investments, I had former residents call me, said, "Hey, Calvin, I trusted you to train me as a physician. Now I'm going to trust you to train me as an investor." I'm like, whoa, okay, that's okay. Here we go. So, I love just teaching education, and that's what it's all about right now, because you have to make those relationships, the trust and so forth. I have people come up to me and they would say, I always wanted to do this, but I didn't trust him. I didn't know anything about this, but I trust you, Calvin, because I know you wouldn't do anything crazy, right? Well, I am kind of crazy to begin with, but, but yeah, they would think they see me, they respect me, and I appreciate that. So that's sort of those relationships and trust, just to keep going on with this, because it's a lot about mindset changing to teach them what's all about passive income, what you do, because a lot of my colleagues are into Wall Street, right? They're waiting for their stocks to return and so forth. I'm like, well, how long are you gonna, wait for that to happen? So it's just that teaching, and some of them are still, thinking about it, and I get that. It takes some time. I didn't get into this till about like 2-3 years ago, where one of my friends was, I went to church, went to trust him, a family friend. He told me about this, and my wife, because we were never gotten into this, it wasn't for him to make that step.
So now that you've been able to do this, I mean, just observationally, and I like that you were able to come in as a passive investor first, because that's putting your own skin in the game, kind of learning the ropes from that side of things, and now you're helping people sit in that seat that you once sat in, right? So what's been the observation for how these investments have helped you accomplish what we're talking about?
Yeah, just learning the ropes from that, see what can happen, and just being patient, basically. As real estate is more of a marathon than a sprint. Because a lot of me, because I'm in the emergency medicine business, right? It's like snap, 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 snap. Decision.
Everything right now.
Done now, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually made me draw back or step back and said, okay, I see how this works. The raising, the property management and so forth, and it helped me as I actually maybe become a better doctor, and so to speak, because I know it's just patience and so forth. You have to sit back, think about it, do your due diligence, go through all the numbers and everything. So. And it actually has affected my practice in a good way. So, I look at the whole big picture versus, okay, yeah, we like I revive this kid. Okay, what's the big picture after this, right? What's going on with the parents? When we talk to them, what's the aftercare and so forth. So similar analogies to real estates as well, because you put something in there. What's the big picture as you step back? Because it could be a 3 to 5, 10-year hold on these properties, and it's just a matter of being patient and humble as you see these cycles go through.
So let me pose this question. You started as a passive investor and got involved in some syndications and some other deals. And then you transitioned into being an active investor, and you and your wife started Peace Equity. So why did you make the transition into an active investor rather than being a high-income earner that just keeps putting money in passive investments?
Right. Well, one of the things we wanted to scale up faster. I'm trying to accelerate my retirement. I turned 60 this year, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at my board certification is not for another 10 years. I am not working another 10 years in emergency medicine. Things I'm just, you get tired and burnt out. So I'm just looking for ways so that augment, salary or income, so that by becoming active, the goal and the hope is that it'll scale up faster so that we can get to that point where I can just cut back and work when I want to.
Which is a good observation. I mean, anything that you're going to be active in, it's kind of like putting some gas on the fire. It's going to accelerate things. So that's a good point. I mean, for people that are out there thinking that being a passive investor is going to be quick and you're going to get these crazy returns and you're going to replace your job in a matter of 5 years, that's unrealistic.
Right.
But over the course of 10 years, I mean, it really compounds. And as you keep reinvesting your gains into new deals or whatever the investment is, I mean, it's just, so yeah, being an active investor definitely is an accelerant, but you're trading your time for that.
But I think there's two things kind of on that I want to specify for somebody who is currently a passive investor and feels frustrated maybe by how slow things are going, or they're looking to get in and they have unrealistic expectations. Gone are the days that you're going to be able to put $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 into an investment and then have that property repositioned and sold in like 16 months and you double or 2.5x your money, because that was happening when people were buying in 2018, 2019 and turning around and selling it in 2020 and 2021. Well, then you start, and what's funny, and I'm just pulling the curtain back for people who are passive investors. If I, as a sponsor, as the active member of that investment, am able to achieve those returns, I'm going to tell people about it, right? And so those numbers started to get put out there, and they were legitimate returns. But what it did is it kind of created this false narrative of how quickly you can achieve that. And what you need to understand the market forces that were at play there. We put 33% more money into circulation in the monetary system from what was in historical norms. That's going to have an effect on the pricing of real estate. So that is not normal, is what I'm saying. If you are moving forward as a passive investor in 2024, you need to be comfortable with that money being invested and placed and parked for that 5 to 7 year horizon. You have to.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would comment on that?
Yeah, because I was part of that rising when I first started, right? And I heard all these things like, oh, financially free in 3, right? That type of thing. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Right? So I started investing, in those things as an LP, and he said, okay, well, it's working. Then we went to become more active, but some of the investments which I've invested earlier are not doing all that great in a couple of the properties because of the market situation and so forth, and I get that. But now the things that we're looking into now, they're more of a longer hold, so that, 7, 10 years, we should be able to ride out the market if there's a recession and so forth. And property values are only going to go up because you just have to look on the horizon, right? You just have to say, okay, 5, 10 years from now, it can only get better. History is behind us. So that's the hope and the goal there.
And I think that even drives back to our original question, is how to determine if you're a passive investor. Are you okay with your money being parked in an illiquid asset for a duration of time? And to realize that you're going to get cash flow, you're going to get the tax depreciation, you're going to get the equity, right? Principal pay down, all of that stuff is going to happen for you. But it's not always sexy and it's not always fast. So if you're not okay with that, then you're probably not ready to invest passively. And Cal, here's a question I would ask for you, because I think this is kind of a thought-provoking question. Would there be a time when you would turn someone down from investing in maybe a project or an offering that you had available?
Yes, I have to make sure they're comfortable with it, right? That's the big thing, because when my wife and I talk to prospective investors, we make sure both partners are there. Because I've had an occasion where one was we had a couple of friends of ours, and one was a university dean, a vice dean. One was the computer scientist. Went out to lunch, asked the wife, who was the university dean. I said, "Hey, what you think of the property thing that you invested in?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know anything about that. I'll let him do that." I was like, "No, no, 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 no." So that's the first thing. We make sure both are there. But there's something that that they're thinking about. Oh yeah, is this going to happen? 2, 3. I said, well, you really have to step back and make sure that you are vested in it, because it's a long-term thing. They always ask questions. Oh, can I take the money out? During some time. I said, no, you can't do that. I guess the only way you can do it is find someone else to sell the shares to, first the GPs or something like that. But you have to make sure that they're comfortable with it. And if they're not really comfortable about that, I said, I don't want to take your money then, because one, if your partner's not there, what's the number one cause of marital strife? It's money, right? So I don't want to be a part of that. So
we're playing in that space,
right? Yeah. So and also, they're not really truly comfortable. I said, well, okay, it's not a good fit for you. I don't want you to be stressed out because we have a relationship, right? You're my friend or a colleague or acquaintance and stuff. Maybe it's the next deal or something like that, or maybe another different asset class. I can refer you to somebody else so that you're comfortable with your investment.
I think that's super prudent. And then to build on that too, another factor I've thought about is like, we're not going to take someone's last $50,000. Like, you may think you've saved up this little nest egg to go deploy, and kudos to you for being able to get to that point. But the next step for you may not be to put that in a passive investment. And if that's money that you need, or if it's like, hey, if something didn't go the way that I wanted it to with that money, I would be in a bad spot. That's probably, if you can ask yourself that question and that's your answer, then you're probably not ready for that investment vehicle. There's other ways that you could actually get into real estate still with that money, but not in that capacity. So, but I think that's a really good last question. This is just a curiosity question. You had mentioned retirement for kind of the medical profession, and that was a concern for you, right? You're used to like doing surgeries, working hours, kind of big volume of money in. What is retirement options for medical workers? Like what's available that was a concern for you to go set something up?
Well, I think that, I'm pretty active. I do things, travel and so forth. But again, I would work when I want to, so that I just keep my foot in the door in the emergency department, so to speak, because I have relationships at the hospital, just, love working with people and so forth. But for me, it's just quality time spent with family. We just got back from a trip to Cozumel, which was great, and just hung out, basically, just that quality of time. It rained every day. We had tropical storm Alberto go through, so it rained every day there. But we just hung out. My kids loved it because it was just like, it's okay, Dad. We just hung out. It was time away from their job. So just to have that feeling, knowing that, hey, they want to hang out with their parents still, right? Do these things. And that's what I see it. But
I'm saying more so like, what do people, if they're not doing real estate, are they just putting money into 401k? Like, are they just putting it in those types of investment vehicles, or?
Yeah, whatever. Because for me personally, I have a 403b through, or my medical group through my academic affiliation, and that's it. I don't have a pension or anything like that. So that's why I chose to go this route, so that I know that I can have the means to have a nice retirement, spend time with the family, do the things that I want to do.
The going's good as long as it's going. But when you stop, what's there that's going to let you continue to live the way that you want? Yeah, that's good. Okay.
All right, we're going to jump into our smaller pocket segment. So, Calvin, this is your opportunity to tell us about a deal that went wrong. So what went wrong? What was the deal? And then what did you learn from it, so that way our audience can learn from it as well?
Well, one of the things that I'm right now as part of an active investment, a GP, things that you have to, like in my line of work, you expect the unexpected, right? There was a deal that we have, it's still ongoing right now. There's still reeling from it. I'm part of the general partnership where there was a fire that took out 6 units.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
That plus it was a bad property management team and so forth. So we were, pivoting to get a new team in place. So occupancy is lower, so numbers aren't that great. So fortunately, the team has, insurance in terms of lost rent and so forth, but the one unit can't be reopened because they took out other 6 units. All the units have to be fixed before you can actually have those available for
Leasing.
tenants again. So
Yeah.
it's time and money there. So the key thing is always have to make sure that the due diligence area, make sure you have all your insurance policies that are involved, a good property management team, because as on the weekly, calls and so forth, they're giving us
Yeah.
reports saying, okay, there's something wrong here, and the senior partners on the group went down there and said, hey, this is not working right. So, and they just put all the numbers down. We had to report to our investors, okay, distributions are on hold. So these things can happen, but it just, again, it's the long run. So hopefully as we continue to hold this property, because before it was like, yeah, well, the business plan is projected in 5 years. It's probably gonna be like 7 years now. And that those
Wow.
things can happen. You just have to
Right.
be transparent with your investors as well as long as the other partners to get through this. And these things unfortunately happen.
So
So
where was that property located at?
I was in Tucson.
Okay. And then so I guess what is the lesson for you as the general partner coming out of that? I mean, what's been kind of like the big thing for you coming out of that issue?
Well, you just have to let the play with the blows that come with you, right? Because no one expected that. I think the issue was it was a fire caused by a tenant who fell asleep
Mm.
smoking. Just one of those things. Just
right.
just burn through everything. So it's just a matter of just getting ready, have the necessary funds and so far your buffers to be ready for anything like that. So yes, the
Did the
insurance was
property management company not notify you guys right away, or?
Well, it was there, but
Okay.
it was in combination with the property management team not doing a good job overall because occupancy was a little down. Then you had these 6 units come into
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
place,
yeah, yeah.
and
Right.
that drives it down even more.
Yeah.
And so the cash flow isn't was expected. You're losing on your
Yes.
NOI and things like that. So
Things can get away quick that way when, because if you're, 3 or 4% lower on what your average occupancy should be, and then something like that happens, that's a compounded thing, right?
right,
And, if you own enough real estate long enough, some of these things are a matter of when, not if,
right,
things go wrong. So, so on the insurance side of things, there is a 120 plus unit in our community that was held by an out-of-state group. A fire happened, and they did not have insurance on the property. They had let it lapse, and it is that also is tied to the way they operate as a wider kind of company, and the property is likely going to go through foreclosure now. So that kind of stuff can happen, and wild. So
Yeah,
okay.
so hopefully you guys had a good insurance agent on that deal. But is that all panning out? Does it look like they're gonna? Okay, so it's still. Does it look like they're gonna pay out though for the claim?
It looks like it. Yeah, it's just taking some time, obviously, because they have to. We have to fix everything first, right? Renovate.
Insurance companies they're always white knuckled with money. It's funny.
World.
It is a different world. All right, we're gonna go into what we call our little nugget. So, Calvin, this is part of our show where you give our listeners one practical takeaway or a piece of advice that they can implement to their real estate investing businesses.
Yeah, just something that if you're as a passive investor, you're looking for a syndicator, just make sure you vet them well. You have a relationship, go through the due diligence and so forth. And it's that trust in the relationships that you have. One thing, you talked about skin in the game, right? Make sure that person has skin in the game. All the investments that we're general active participants and our active partners, we do invest in because we believe in that. Because sometimes I always tell a lot of my friends, if you don't invest with us, that's fine. But here's one thing: if someone says, "Oh yeah, we're just raising money," that's a red flag.
Right.
You got to make sure they're part of that investment. So that's one thing I would.
Yeah, we call that investor alignment, right? When the values of the active and general partners are aligned with the limited and passive investors, and that is massively huge. That's a great piece of advice. What's been one of the best resources in your business development or your personal development?
Well, it's just, talking to people like you guys, the experts and so forth, just networking, just going on different webinars and so forth. I was part of the Vertical Street Ventures Student Academy because going into, from this, I have no marketing or business or financial background. So I always tell people that the learning curve for me going to real estate was much steeper than it was going to medical school because I've been studying math, science, and so forth. But a lot of it was just a true fire hose. As going to conferences so far. I remember the first conference I went to, everything went above my head. I said, "Gosh, what is this going on here with this?" Yeah. But as I keep going and learning more, I enjoy them more because I actually do understand this. I'm having more of an interest in that. So just, get yourself into it, education, and just learn. As you know more about it, the more comfortable you'll be in terms of you want to be a passive or investor, or you take that next step to become an active investor.
I will say, if you are listening to this and you're going to decide to jump into the real estate kind of realm, it's a wormhole. It's like it will suck you in. There's a lot of angles there, and there's information everywhere. And it's a good process though, just to get exposed to terms, to phrases, to, all of that. And you begin to build kind of a framework of what's going on. So, hey, in closing, how can people find out more about you and follow your success?
Yeah, I have a LinkedIn post, a LinkedIn account, as well as Facebook and Instagram. Our website is www.peacequity.com. So there's a different spelling. There's no double E's. It's just Peace Equity that goes across. And that's pretty much how you can get a hold of me there.
Awesome.
You will email me too at cal@peaceequity.com. CAL@peace.
All of those things will be in the show notes, and you can connect that way. Calvin, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, to kind of expound upon hey, who should this be for and how to answer those questions. And I know we didn't get into, but we could have another podcast session about all of the things that you've seen in your line of work by being an emergency doctor for pediatrics.
It'll have to be a series after that because I can go on.
A Netflix series. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, blessings to you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
As always, excited that you joined us for another episode of the Reinvest Podcast. Stay tuned every Tuesday for new episodes. And if you want to learn how you can use your hard-earned capital to diversify into real estate, go to our website, lv5capital.com, and shoot us a message. Move farther, reach higher, and grow deeper. We'll see you next time.